But on social media interactions that people have with you,
Okay.
you are always paying the Chinmayi tax. In the
I'm paying the
sense,
Chinmayi tags. Okay.
in the sense that you get a lot of hatred because
Yeah.
you are with Chinmayi. That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And both of you are kind of like, the couple. I mean, it's kind of beautiful, actually. It is beautiful, not kinda. It is like you guys always say the right things and the things that
No matter what.
yeah, and like you are vocal about what you feel and all of that. Isn't that like some kind of pressure that like
You know,
you cannot go wrong, man? Do you realize that? Like,
it's okay. And as far as I know, to everybody listening, I know in what context you couldn't see. I'm sure this also goes on YouTube. So people watching on YouTube will be able to sense with what in what mood or tonality Hriday coined the term the Chinmayi tax. But people hearing it on the podcast might not, and I don't want it to stick.
no,
And
I can
don't want it to
explain
be-
what I mean, though.
Yeah, I know. I don't want it to stick, and I don't want it to become another rallying cry for Chinnu haters, so to speak. And she has enough lovers anyway, so they will always defend her. To
Hey,
death.
I'm sorry, we can cut this out. I didn't want
No,
to bring.
we'll have it on. We'll have it
Okay,
on.
okay.
So as far as that Chinmayi tax is concerned, I find it funny that
Yeah, it's kind of hilarious, right?
I find
Like,
it funny that I'll tell you two things. Me and my wife have a lot of discussions. There are a lot of things about which we agree. And there may be some things about which we don't agree. And sure, there may be certain things about, like sometimes I tell her, I say, Chinnu, I know it's a burden that you needn't carry. I know it's a responsibility that shouldn't be shoved down your throat. But you are erudite. You are intelligent. You know how to communicate well. Sometimes I feel like if you would just take a deep breath and look at some idiot who says something really vile and poisonous on Twitter to you, I mean, once it crosses a certain line, I don't care. But sometimes when you know that somebody just doesn't know any better, it's just an idiot who's immature, who's probably very young, is probably a 18, 19-year-old kid. Why don't you take a deep breath and explain to him in a kind manner why he's wrong?
yeah.
And sometimes he's like, yeah, maybe. And sometimes he's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm too angry. I can't. It is not my responsibility to be sitting and changing these idiots. Their parents should take care of it. Their teachers should take care of it. So if he comes and affects me, if he comes and calls me names, and if I feel angry, I'm going to give it back to him. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. Do it. Would I ever do that? No. Does Chinnu do that sometimes? Yes. Is that anger justified? Most times in my book, it is. So we are two very different people. We have two extremely different responses to the same situations.
Okay.
And I can't be held responsible for her opinions, just like she shouldn't be held responsible for my opinions. Tomorrow we might have, luckily on most things we get along. I think that's why we married. But tomorrow it could be about something. It could be a movie. It could be, I don't know, it could be politics. We might have two polar opposite opinions. I will respect the fact that she has a different opinion from mine. She will respect the fact that I have a different opinion from hers. And we'll get along. We are not going to love each other even 1% less. Unfortunately, on social media, it's not husband and wives fighting, right? It's strangers fighting.
Yeah.
And your only experience with somebody is that fight. So you don't have all the good things that you have with someone in life. You don't have the knowledge of how kind and loving someone is, how they make your life infinitely better. To say, it's okay. For example, my lot of members in my family and I have diametrically opposite political views. We sit down over an extended family dinner on a festival day or something. It gets worse than Twitter. Okay, it gets worse than Twitter. And then it'll be done and we forget it. We don't love each other 1% less. Nor do we hand out damning permanent character certificates to the other person. Nor do we permanently judge that person based on just one aspect of their personality, which is their political views. I refuse to lose my ability to not hate anybody. Even if their views are extremely problematic, even if, say, it's a fellow filmmaker and the kind of cinema he makes, I find extremely problematic, I refuse to lose the ability to not hate him. It's okay. That polarization, I feel, is bad. So, as a result of that polarization, sometimes she pays for I might say something like, I really liked an actor's film.
Yeah.
And then there'll be
And they'll
people,
go to her.
They'll go to her
And
and
then she'll say
say,
something, they'll come to you.
yeah.
It's like, what is going on, man?
Yeah.
Like, decide who you hate.
Is it fair to expect her to answer to hate because I like some stars?
Yeah,
It's not fair. Similarly, sometimes she might have a certain opinion that I may or may not subscribe to. I mean, sure, if you want to sit down and have a civil conversation about it, sure, if I have the time and if you have the time. But if you're just going to come and abuse me, like I said, for those few seconds, it jolts you. Like, అరే నువ్వు ఎవర్రా భయ్, నేను నీకు లైఫ్లో ఏమైనా తప్పు చేశానా, నిన్ను మోసం చేశానా, ఎందుకు ఇంత ద్వేషం నా మీద, ఎందుకు ఇంత హేట్ నా మీద అనేది అర్థం కాదు. అండ్ దెన్ ఫ్యూ సెకండ్స్ లైక్ ఇట్స్ ఓకే మ్యాన్, ఇట్స్ ఓకే. సో మోస్ట్ టైమ్స్ ఐ టెల్ మై వైఫ్, అరే డోంట్ టేక్ దట్ మెషిన్ గన్ అవుట్, నో ఇట్స్ ఓకే, వై డోంట్ యూ గో రిప్లై టు సంబడి వెన్ యూర్ లెస్ యాంగ్రీ. And sometimes when I look at some of these tweets, I'm like, thank God there is at least one Chinnu who doesn't have any filter when it comes to taking that machine gun out. I'm like, కొందరైనా ఉండాలి అట్లా. అన్ని సెలబ్రిటీస్ సరేలే మనం భరిస్తూనే ఉంటాం, ఓకేలే ఓపిక పట్టుకుంటున్నాం, ఓకేలే ఇగ్నోర్ చేద్దాం, ఎవరైనా ఒక్కరైనా తిరిగి ఇవ్వాలి కదా అని అనిపిస్తుంది. సో sometimes when I look at it, I'm like, nice that somebody is giving it back. Sometimes I look at it and I tell her, I'm like, okay fine, you do your thing, but why don't you, I'm like, yeah, but it depends on my mood. I'm like, I get it. It's okay.